Now, when you start out, I'm going to use the land tool to create my land. This first part of the stream, we're going to focus on making a kind of a continent or continents that we can then put our nation states on. And what I'll do first is I'll just go switch over, turn smooth off. I'll have these kind of harder edges. I'm going to go ahead and just use an edgy brush for this. And when I'm making a world map, it doesn't matter what world map it is, I follow this same kind of method. What I'll do is I'll create this blob of a shape. Don't worry about making it perfect, okay? Just make a shape. It can go off screen too, by the way. I find that by going off screen, it adds some contrast. It looks a little bit more interesting. It doesn't have to be a world map. It can be a region. It doesn't really matter. So I'll just go ahead and kind of create this here. So I have this basic kind of shape right here, which I think overall looks kind of good. And then once you've kind of created that basic shape, then you can start carving out. Like once you've made that blob, then you can start carving out some important features. Because what makes a convincing landmass is by giving it character and adding all these interesting features. Things like a horn or a bay or an archipelago. And we'll add all of those things in there. So let's go ahead and just fill in the rest of the space here. And then we'll create the first one I mentioned was a bay. So I'll go ahead and make it go about here. I think this looks fairly good. Maybe we can push it out a little bit more this way. Okay, that looks good. Overall, I'm somewhat satisfied with that shape. So from here, I'll go to my subtract mode. I'm going to bring the scale or the size of the brush down a little bit. If you just hold the shift key with your mouse scroll wheel, you'll be able to use a shortcut key to allow your brush size to go up and down. Okay. Just kind of a heads up. And what the first thing we'll do is let's create a bay, right? And a bay is going to look something like this, right? It has a little opening like this. If you don't like how far open it is, we can maybe make it a little bit more like this. And already this adds a little bit of character and shape to the landmass, right? And in fact, we've created a bay plus a little horn right here. Again, now we've got two interesting features in one already, just by removing a little bit of area right there. So it's important to think about this kind of things when you're putting together your land masses. Think about the different types of land formations that are going to make your coastlines look more unique. So we've done a bay. We've also done a horn here. Why don't we create something like an archipelago? Something like that. An archipelago is like a series of islands. So what we can do is maybe put an archipelago right where that horn is. So we can go back to the add mode. We'll bring some smaller sizes right here. And maybe we'll just have some islands just kind of broken off. Just like this, just to kind of break it up a little bit. I don't really care for that one. Why don't we maybe move it over? Why don't we create a little island right here as well? One that's kind of a longer one. Fits into the shape there. That looks good. We'll go back to subtract. And I'm going to go ahead and add a couple more things. So why don't I carve out some spaces like this? Let's go ahead and just go like this and just kind of create some spaces. I'm just going to go up randomly with the brush, just like this. Just go randomly go up like this. Don't worry about making it perfect at first. All you're doing is just breaking up the coastline a little bit. And then from there, you can work with that. So I'll break it up a little bit here, break it up here. And then now that I've done that, I've got some shapes here. Like here's a little boot shape right here. Why don't we fill that out a little bit more? Let's go back to add, and we'll add a little bit of a boot shape right here. That looks good. Got a nice little boot shape. Let's maybe go down a little bit this way, and then we'll maybe have it hook up a little bit. So now you have this nice hook boot-like shape, which looks good. Why don't we subtract and continue adding a little bit, or subtracting a little bit more? Let's break up this space right here. Let's break this up a little bit. And as you're breaking things up, you're noticing that it starts creating more character. Let's also go to add. Don't be afraid to add things. Why don't we add a little horn or a little hook right here? Let's add another horn and maybe a little hook right here, and then maybe another horn and a hook right here. That way it kind of pops out a bit more. Let's make another one right there. That looks good. Now we've got a nice, interesting shape there. Why don't we create another one that kind of just goes like this, a little bit larger shape that kind of hooks like this. That looks good. And then why don't we have it kind of shoo its way out that way a little bit? That looks good. It's a little too straight right here. Why don't we break this up? Let's make it go a little bit more inward. We can create what's called a C of some kind. So we can go ahead and create this little larger shape right here. That looks good. I'm going to break it up a little bit more by just going in a little bit more this way. Let's subtract and just create a little bit more spaces like this. That looks good. Okay, why don't we add a little bit more in here? Subtract some stuff. This looks a little straight at the bottom down here, so why don't we push it out a little bit more by having some go down like this? That looks good. And then why don't we kind of have it go out this way a little bit, and then we can put a little archipelago like that. There we go. That looks good. Okay, why don't we flush out a little bit more of this horn right here by adding a little bit more islands, subtract, and just kind of cut this up a little bit. There we go. That looks good. So you're getting the general idea, right? As you make your main blob, then you'll start subtracting and adding things whereas you see fit to kind of break it up. And that just makes it more interesting, right? Okay, why don't we just do a bit more on the coastline here? Why don't we go down to brush 1, this size right here, and then kind of create this interesting kind of like watery like space here. That looks good. Let's go ahead and flush this out a little bit more. And then maybe we'll flush this out by going inward a little bit here. Like this. There we go. Okay. All right. I think I'm somewhat satisfied with the overall shape of this. We could probably add in a couple more things, but I think overall this looks fairly good. We've broken up a lot of pieces, giving it some character. So from here, what I want to do is I'm going to choose a lighter texture for the land just for the time being. I'm going to get this lighter color. That'll look good. And then also I'm going to go over to your mask effects. If you're not sure where mask effects are, notice where it says land brush. Just so you know, you will only see this in the default right layer panel when you're using the world styles, the watercolor city styles, the regional styles. Those should have this in default. If you can't find that, you can always just make your own by just going add layer, add a brush layer. Once you've selected the brush layer, then you would add a layer mask right here where it says add mask right here to add a layer mask. So that's pretty much how that works. If you're kind of confused on that. So notice here that we've got a land brush, this right here, that land shape mask. That's where those mask effects are. If you right click on that shape mask there, you'll click land styles and you'll see I can turn on and off the mask effects there, just to let you know. And what I'll do is I'll leave the mask effects on. I like them for now, but I'll change them up. And there's a couple tricks that I have when I'm deciding what kind of mask effects that I want to use for my map. And the big thing is contrast, right? I want to make a clear distinction between the ocean and the water. Now already under the current presets, this looks fairly good, but why don't we go ahead and add an outer shadow that's maybe a bit darker? Add an outer shadow. Already that landmass starts to pop out a little bit. Why don't we bring the intensity down a little bit so it's not quite as intense, but intense enough to where you can see it. So I've created some contrast using this darker shadow here. Let me see if I can get it right about. Let me just keep going up a little bit more. I want it to be dark enough to where it really sticks out. That looks good. And because I used this darker contrast for the outside, the mix between or the shift between the water and the ocean, why don't I also do something like an inner shadow? Instead of having it dark like the outer shadow, why don't I have the inner shadow be a lighter color? So let's go with like a white color, kind of like this. Oopsie, is that the inner shadow or outer shadow? Oops, inner shadow. Let's see here. I choose the wrong one. My mistake there. There we go. And then inner shadow right here, white. There we go. That looks good. Why don't we bring the intensity up a little bit? Why don't we bring the blur up a little bit? I'm going to zoom in to kind of take a closer look at it. You can see that whiter outline kind of sticking out a little bit. Why don't we choose a texture that's just slightly darker? So let's maybe use this one right here. We'll apply it. Yeah, that looks a little better. There we go. So now that white outline contrasts against that dark outline, creating this nice contrast, really causing the landmass shapes to pop out. Remember, the trick to getting things to pop out and to giving your map character is to use contrast. It works for every map. So definitely play around with those mask effects to really get some interesting effects that you can come up with. Of course, you don't have to use mask effects. You can always paint your coastlines, and some people do because the mask effects are uniform. If you look carefully, You'll notice that it's uniform with the shadow on the outside and the inside. There's no change in the shadow where some is thicker and the other parts are thinner. It's all the same. So just kind of know that it's going to be uniform like that. If you don't like that uniform look, you can just paint your own effects around the edges. And we can maybe cover that in a different stream. Let's go back to land styles here. I want to continue working on that that inner shadow real quick. I'm going to bring the blur out just a little bit more. There we go. Get the distance out a little bit more. Looks a little better. Bring the intensity down. Maybe bring the blur out even more. There we go. We're getting. I really want it to kind of go inward as much as possible. There we go. I think that looks good. Okay. So we can always come back and do more changing around with the landmasses. Right now, it looks kind of procedural with that edgy shapes. We'll go ahead and we can clean that up. But let's just go to the next step here. And the next step is to add your mountain ranges, because the reason why I want to use some land formations and some terrain on this political map is because borders are generally created or drawn along natural borders. Things like rivers, lakes, oceans, coastlines, mountain ranges, dense forests, ravines, things like that act as natural borders. So by adding in your terrain, that makes it easier for you to kind of draw your borders. So without terrain, it's hard to know where exactly to place where your nation states are. So we'll go ahead and first we're going to choose like a scale. And when it comes to scale with your map, this is all about having artistic license, meaning that the reality is that when you're making a map, you're probably not going to make it perfect to scale. For instance, let me put a mountain down at 100% and then let me put down a tree at 100%. This is kind of important because this can rack your mind a little bit, but you'll notice that that tree is massive in compared to that mountain there, okay? This is where artistic license comes in. It's okay to have the mountain or have the tree be slightly large in scale comparison to the mountain, because guess what? You probably wouldn't even be able to see an individual tree at such a small scale. So if I bring the scale way down, a tree would probably be something around that size right there. And you can't really see it very well, can you? So it's okay to use some artistic license and to play around with scale. And really, it's just a choice that you need to make what looks good, right? Does it look better making it smaller? Is it okay to make it a little bit more cartoonish and making the scale whack? When it comes to a political map, I would say that because the focus is on the major cities, on the capital, terrain is something that doesn't have to be perfectly to scale, right? It can be interpretive. It can use some artistic license here because the focus is not on what the terrain looks like. The focus is on the political aspect of the map. So it's okay if you want to have varying scale. Don't worry about making it perfect. And you will kind of rack your brain a little bit trying to make it perfect, I've noticed. It's just something that I struggle with, and I've just always leaned on artistic license to do that. So from here, I've noticed that my mountains are a little large at 100%. So maybe I'll just scale them down to about 70% here. 70. That should give me enough room to place mountains and to also make the scale look okay. So I'll go ahead and just put that mountain there. And then the way that I decide my mountains is a lot of different factors, right? Because there's a lot of different types of mountain ranges and how they're formed when it comes to fold, dome, and all the different types of mountains. But the way that I kind of piece it together is I lay down my first mountain range. And then after I put down my first range, I kind of use that as a reference point on where to put my other ones. So let me give you an example. If I made a range like right here, like this, I'm having it follow the coastline like this. And now I have this nice range here. And then from here, maybe I want that range to continue on somewhere else, but it's not attached. So maybe I want to put some more route and range right here. And you'll notice that there is kind of a little bit of a connection here, right? They kind of zoom in like this. So the way that I kind of approach the mountains is this aesthetically pleasing, and where should I place them at? So I'll place a range there. Maybe I want to create a valley right here. So maybe I'll create another smaller range just like this. So this right here is a valley. That's a nice land formation there. Why don't we continue on this range right here and have it kind of bend and go down this way? have it curve this way a little bit. So you see there's a continuation there, a continuation there. This arches this right here. Why don't we continue on this mountain range as it kind of goes up into this hook right here. We can also have the range split and make its way down to here. Like this. You see there's a continuation there. And then what happens if I want to create maybe some, right now these are kind of vertical ranges, meaning going down. Why don't we create some horizontal ranges? So we'll create some horizontal ranges that kind of go to the horizon, like this. And then why don't we create some mountain ranges up here? So right here there's a continuation. So why don't we create a range that goes out like this? And it can go off screen. That's no big deal. And we'll make these ranges kind of big. Don't forget to play with thickness, right? You want to show a more treacherous terrain. Make them a little bit thicker, right? So I can do that here too. Like maybe I want this center part to be a bit thicker. Maybe I want to have some smaller branches kind of going off like this. Another smaller branch going there like this. So you're kind of getting the idea on how I place my mountain ranges. There's all kinds of methods that you could use. Some people use plate tectonics. Me personally, I kind of feel like you only really need to have some kind of method like plate tectonics unless you just really struggle with finding what looks good, you know, because I go with the more artistic approach, but that not everyone has that eye, and that's okay. So go with maybe plate tectonics. It's really up to you what you think kind of works best. So I'll go ahead and create here. I'm going to create this range as it kind of moves its way down into this kind of hook right here, and then maybe the range splits and then goes into there. Why don't we make it a little bit thicker here, connect it here, and then there's this range here. Why don't we connect this one? And let's hook it like this, and then we'll have it branch out this way as well. That looks good. And then we'll create another series of ranges right here as well. There we go. That looks good. Let's create a little range on this foot right here. Excuse me. And we'll create a little range here. And then what I'll do here is I'll bring the scale down a little bit, and then I'll put just a little tiny mountain at the end of each one to kind of make it look like it kind of branches. So a little bit smaller. So at the end of each one, I'll put a little smaller one there, there. This just creates more of a point at the end of the range, making it look a little bit better. Here we go, like this. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and take a step back and kind of look at our mountains and how they turned out. If you don't like things, you can always move things around. Like I didn't care for that piece right there, so why don't we just move this range over to right here instead? Let's see here. Why don't we move it to right about there? That looks good. Okay. All right, so now you have all of your terrain, that kind of mountain ranges put down. You can start adding a couple other things, and this is up to you on how much detail you want to have, but why don't we throw in some hills? Hills are a nice choice to kind of, you would expect like some foothills of the mountains, so let's go ahead and do that. I'll just create some on this side. Let's create some foothills at the base. Create some foothills here, here. Let's also put some on the other side. Here be some foothills, some foothills. That looks good. Put some foothills in here, up here. Foothills are always a nice choice. And then after we add in the foothills, we're going to throw in our bodies of water, mostly lakes and rivers. Those play a huge role in borders, particularly rivers. They play a huge role. So why don't we finish adding these, and then we will do those rivers. Here we go. Where are we at for time? Are we moving quickly? Oh yeah, we're getting a lot done in 22 minutes already. We've got the landmass somewhat figured out. Yeah, we're making good time. That's good. Let's go put some foothills here. Oh, I think this has some space for it. Put some foothills in here, along this edge, kind of making its way down here. And then why don't we actually have some foothills kind of like branching off a little bit to make it more interesting. Like here's a foothill that branches off there, branch there. Put some up here like this. There we go. That looks good. We just take a step back. So far, so good. Why don't we add some more in here? like this. Just want to have them kind of branching out a little bit. Make it look like it's continuing on the terrain there. That looks good. Put some along here. Okay. Oh, the chat is quiet, but I must be having fun then. All right, so we'll let this auto save real quick. One of the things I'll do while it's saving is I'm going to rename this as terrain for now. So that way my objects have been relabeled to terrain. So now I know that the terrain elements like hills, mountains, those things are all going to be on one layer. Let's go ahead and create the rivers now. So you would go back to your land tool, go to subtract, go to your regular circle brush and brush size 1. So nice and small. And what you'll end up doing is you'll start a river it starts in these headwaters in the mountains. So basically rainwater and snow melt collects in depressions in the mountain and it fills with this water. It overflows. And then that water runs down the mountain and then it runs downhill towards the mountains here. So what I'll do is I'll take that subtract mode of the mask tool and I'll just go ahead and pick kind of a location that I want like this. And I'll just go ahead and make my way down. Now, just like forests, just like when I was talking about scale with mountains and the scale of trees, this same concept of scale should be mentioned when it comes to rivers and lakes, right? So one thing that I've kind of noticed is that if you want to have it where you never want to do this for a lake or for a river like this straight line, and depending on the scale, you would want to have either small meanders like this, or if you wanted to add a little bit more character, you can go out of scale and make these larger meanders. That's up to you, okay? So it's up to you to decide on what you want. What is the scale? I haven't set a scale for this map yet. So because this is a political map, and I'm not particularly worried about, it's not a map that I use for characters to travel. It's not a map that I use for characters to look at the terrain and stuff like that. What I do with a political map is I don't worry about the scale because artistically it's not being used that way. It's being used to show political alliances, borders, and things like that. So that's a great question. But if you wanted to set a scale, you totally could. I would just turn the grid on, or I'll set a scale a little bit later. When it comes to geography, I'm not particularly worried about the scale, but we can set one later if people really want to have it. That's okay. So I'm going to create these rivers, right? Or I've already got one right here that goes this way. Why don't we continue making a bunch that kind of just make their way? And the reason why you want to add these little squiggles or meanders is because the water isn't going to flow straight. There are things that are going to obstruct its flow. There's going to be terrain, other things that kind of get in the way of the flow of the river. And so to show that flow, you're going to create these little meanders, little S-curves that exist, right? So if I go through here, I'm going to create a little S-curve that goes out to the ocean like this, right? Another S-curve that goes this way like that. Maybe a little S-curve that goes this way, okay? So these little S-curves are a great way to kind of show that, hey, there's things that are getting in the way and obstructing the flow of the water. So why don't I just make a bunch of them for right now? Let's make a whole bunch. Put that one together. This one's a little bit further away. Why don't we have it connect into a lake here, and then it kind of flows back out to the ocean. And what we can also do is create tributaries, so it might break off like this. Let's have another one that breaks off this way, breaks off this way, and breaks off this way. And then rivers can also connect to each other, making them flow. So if you want, you could put another one right here that kind of connects into here, and then you can make that river a little bit wider right here to kind of show that because you've got two rivers connecting into each other like that, it increases that flow, right? Now, I'm not the river police, so I know that some people think rivers don't split, rivers don't go from coast to coastline. I'm not the river police. This is up to you and what you feel looks good, and almost anything can be explained with lore and magic, so don't beat yourself up. If you want to follow the guides, what other people say online about how you want to do your rivers, what's right and wrong, just make that decision for yourself. There really isn't a right or wrong. Certainly there's closer to reality it's a fantasy map. Don't beat yourself up over it. So just pick whatever you think works best for you. No, people are policing you about whether your river's split or do this or whatever. Don't worry about it, okay? Just make that choice. That's up to you, okay? And we can go into scale too, by the way. That's totally okay. What I would do is that I wouldn't focus the scale on miles. On like if you're doing travel, what I do is I do days instead, and I will make a scale, and I'll show you how to do that too. First, let's just make the rest of the rivers here. So I want to make a bunch of them. Like I want to have another one here, kind of going this way. I like this valley right here, so maybe have the river kind of flow through the valley and then kind of connect here. And we're just going to make a bunch of them. Okay, put one there. Let's put one here. Go it this way, have it really wind around, and then we can maybe turn this into a river delta. So I'll just have them connect into a bunch like this, and this will create like a river delta. This one will connect to here. I'll kind of break this up a little bit. There we go, like this, kind of breaking this up, kind of creating this. Okay, some tributaries that kind of branch off like this. Oops, make sure I connect them. Okay, there's another one right here. Let's connect this one. I'm just going to add as many as I can. Let's put another one over here, up here, and then we'll kind of have it travel down through this kind of valley-like space here. Let's put another one here, like this. That looks good. I'm going to see what else. I think another one right here might do good. Let's put it over here. One thing I try to avoid to do, by the way, is not to have rivers do this. You see how there's one right here? I probably won't put another one right here like this, because it has this illusion that it goes from one end to the continent the other. I generally won't do that, so I try to offset them a little bit, like this one's right here. This one's offset from this one. So if you kind of offset a little bit, it makes it a little bit easier. Okay, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to add this in. Oh, XZROS, by the way, if you want to figure out how to do that, it's all about using mask effects. They're right here. You see where it says land brush and then land shape mask? Just go ahead and click land style, right click and click that land style, and you'll be able to play with these mask effects right here. Just kind of a heads up there. Okay, let's go ahead. Oh, I see another great spot for a lake or river just right here. That looks good. Okay, let me just look around and see what other rivers I have. It's a good one. That looks good. Let me just take a step back. I always like to scale out and just take a look and see how things are going. That looks good. Why don't we have another one that kind of just travels out through here and then kind of makes its way right there. I kind of like that. Let's see here. Let's have another one that goes from this lake up into the mountains, kind of cheating and going the other way there. Okay, let me just take a look. Let's put another one right here. I think this will look good right here. Okay, where are we at for time? Sweet. Okay, let's just take a step back and look at it. I think that's enough rivers. I wanted to create enough that I can kind of use them as a guide for where my borders are going to be. And so the last little step that I would add, though you can add as much terrain as you want, is I would add in some trees. And you can use whatever combination of trees that you want at whatever scale that you want. That's up to you. I think what I'll do is I'll set it at 70. I think I had these stamps set at 70. And a great place to put your forests are right at the base of mountains. So a good spot is just right here, right at the base of this mountain right here. And I'll just have it go right along this river like this. Go like this. And the way that I usually decide my forests is I'll start in the mountains and then move my way outward. So I'll create that, and then I'll create a little, I have this nice little shape right here. I can connect that. Maybe make another shape right here like this. Maybe I want to create another little shape of trees right here. Another cluster right here. For those smaller forests, maybe you want to create a much larger forest. So maybe I want to go in here like this. Really, really go in and create this large forested area right here. That looks good. Let's put another one right here like this. Kind of go inward like that. Let's go put a little forest that goes all along this coastline and along that river there. That looks good. And we'll put it on the other side as well. There we go. Let's go ahead and put a forest right here. A forest here. And you don't have to use the same trees. Use whatever trees that you want. Maybe I want to use this tree right here. We'll use something different. This is a little bit darker, a little bit thicker. Here we go. We'll create some thick, kind of dense, like pine-like forest right here. And just like the mountains, I'm kind of creating this continuity, right? Where remember I had the mountains kind of do this interesting thing where they kind of follow each other. It's the same thing with the forest, right? This forest kind of bends and goes this way, kind of creating this continuity visually, making it a little bit more interesting. It's not something that you have to do, but I find that method to work well for me. That's up to you. And again, there's so many different ways that you can kind of set up your terrain and how you want to put your kind of forests. I think that looks good. Let's go put one over here on this side. And then let's create some, let's show that this is kind of like a plain-like area by just putting a couple trees here. Let's make another plain area right here just by putting a couple trees in here, and then maybe I'll create a little cluster. Sometimes I like to do clusters of 3 or 2. There we go. That looks good. Create a little cluster over here. And let's go use a different tree. Let's maybe use this one right here. We'll push that down. We'll create some forests in here. Now, if you want to get a large forest done, my recommendation is that you scroll down. See here that I have a pine tree selected. Right here with the stamp tool, I scroll down. And right here, I go to more options. There's going to be something called area and density. So if I go to area and I bring this up, you'll notice on the screen that my mouse is showing a bunch of trees. This area option right here makes it easier for you to put down larger, denser forests. So now I can go in and create this large, dense forest up here. We'll have a large forested area up here. Really big forest like that. And then once you've kind of placed these trees where you kind of want them, then you would turn the area back to 0 and then just single click to break up the tree line. So it's not this weird blob shape. So you'd go in and create a little bit of the single clicks to kind of break up that tree line. Maybe we'll connect over here like this, click, single click, and then we'll do some single clicks in here. There we go. Oops, yeah, I've got to break up this right here. Get rid of these kind of blobs. There we go. Put some in here. I'm just going to take a step back and look real quick. Okay, yeah, overall, I'm happy with it. We might want to consider adding a couple more trees in just to kind of break it up. I want to create a little bit of room for my points of interest because on a political map, you probably want to add things like the capital of the nation state, and then you probably want to include some of the most important cities as well, because those are going to be important. So we'll finish adding a little bit of trees just to give a little bit more character. Break up our negative space. Negative space means where there is no stamps. It's just pure texture. So this area right here would be negative space. This area right here where there's no stamps, all of that would be negative space. And I'm just going to throw in a couple trees to break up that negative space. Okay, that looks good. Okay, I think overall this looks okay. There's probably a lot more that we could add to it, but since time is running short, let's go ahead and let this auto save, and then we can kind of move on to that next part, which is the painting. We might be able to finish this all in this stream. There might not be a part 2, which is kind of cool. Okay. Now, once you've kind of set down all of your stamps and you know where all your terrain is, now you have the land to work with to decide where your nation states are going to be, right? So first, we're going to pick a series of colors that we want to use. There's all of these colors right here. We can use these. And let's go maybe with red land right here. And remember, what I did is we're going to use the terrain itself to decide where the borders are. So let's go over this. We're going to make sure that I have my land brush selected. I've got the color that I want. And there's a couple ways that we could approach this. For instance, I can paint in this whole area right here, follow along the border right here, all in right here, and this whole piece right here can be one political location right here like this, right? Remember, I followed the river here, I followed this mountain right here, and I used this forest right here to kind of decide this location. If you want to make it bigger, you could have it go into the mountains here and then travel all along here, right? So you're kind of getting the idea where you would place your borders, right? You were using rivers, we're using mountains to decide where our locations are going to be, okay? So let's go ahead and delete that. I'm going to remove those bits. I think this red right here works just fine. And then when I go to add another continent, another political border, I'm going to try to use a color that's not the same one, like this red color. Maybe I should use a cool color instead, or maybe use blue. That would work best. And then I can kind of decide where I want this next location to be. Why don't we use the mountains here as a guide? Why don't we go use this section right here? We'll go in through here like this. Why don't we have this right here, and then right here can be a continent, or have a nation state right here. So now we have another one like this. We used this coastline, we used this mountain right here, and we stopped it right here. If you want, you could have it go all the way into here, as big as you want. It's up to you how many nation states that you have. Why don't we add another one? Let's add in maybe a yellow one this time. And then this time, why don't we have it be following this border right here and then taking up this whole space right here. This whole thing can be a continent, or be not a continent, a nation state right here. So this nice yellow one right here. And then why don't we take a green one and then place that in here, and we'll have it stop right here where that river is, right? We're using rivers and mountains as where our political borders are at. Okay, let's go ahead and add this in here. Oopsie, my mistake there. We'll undo that, go in here. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and just take a look what we're looking at here. Green, okay. Okay, let me just take a step back and look at it so far. Yeah, I like it overall. The colors look good. We've got yellow, green, blue, red. We could probably add a couple more. Let's probably add in maybe 2 or 3 more colors. Let's go maybe throw in a purple. I think a purple's a good choice. Why don't we make this side right here? We'll use this river and these mountains as our guide right here. And those mountains can be like, maybe up top is some forbidden land, or where there is no nation states. Maybe there's something else going on in the north there. So we'll go ahead and create that purple one. You could go all the way up to here if you want to color the whole thing. That's up to you if you wanted to. That could be that region there. And then we have this whole other region right here. Why don't we make one there and then another one right here that's fairly big? Why don't we go with this gray color here? And we'll go ahead and fill in this piece here. Let's have it go all the way up into here like this. This kind of forest area. And the mountains will kind of act as kind of the border for this one. And then we'll add in one more color. And then we'll have that border done. That looks good. Let's go fill it in here. There we go. That looks good. Let's go fill in this whole thing right here. It can be that right there. And then we should be able to fit in one more. Why don't we use like an orange color? That should be the last color there. And then we'll have one other nation state just right here. Like this. There we go. Okay, go ahead and fill in this spot here. Okay, I'm just going to take a step back and just kind of look at it, to see how it looks overall. You know, I think I might have that gray take up the entire rest of the thing. We'll have this large kind of nation state that's kind of really big, but it's really big because most of it is just wildlands. So we'll go ahead and fill in this whole thing. So we have this nice big gray one here. Let me just take a step back and look at it. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, I'm really enjoying Mark Call, the desktop app. Okay. Okay, let's take a step back and look at it real quick. Yeah, I think each color looks good. So from here, what I would do is you would want to establish where your capital is. And there's a lot of different ways that you could kind of set this up. You could use an icon. So for instance, you could use something like a simple icon like this to represent a POI, or you could use a more detailed image like something like this as an icon. This is up to you. And the way that I kind of decide this is really the purpose, right? If it's a capital, then why don't we use unique stamps to represent each capital in each nation state? And then we can use regular icons or symbols to represent the major cities. So that way we'll put focus on the capital, right? If we have every city besides just the capital having a specialty icon, then it will take focus away from the capital. So by having every other city besides the capital be an icon, that will put focus. So why don't we go ahead and decide what we want? I got this kind of green one right here. We could maybe put this thing somewhere in here. And now as for capitals, where to put structures, things like that, I think the most important thing is to place it near availability of water, availability of food. So some good locations for a capital would be something like it could be on top of a mountain where it's well defended with crops and a valley below. A good capital would be something like placing one along a coastline where there's a harbor, because that's where a lot of trade takes place. So along your coastlines, along a lake somewhere where there's availability of water, along a river, all of those locations are good places to put your capital. And where you decide what I want to do is I want to do one unique icon or one unique symbol for each one. So why don't we start with the green and kind of move our way? There's a lot of open plains in here. Like I've noticed there's a lot of open plains. So why don't we place it right about here? It's not far away from the water here. So right over here, we can put some major cities that kind of connect to this. And what I want to do is I want it to pop out. Notice that I have these bright white inner shadows. Why don't we also add a little bit of shadow to our points of interest to make them pop out more? So what I'll do is I'll select it. I'm going to go over here to shadow, custom object shadow. I'm going to go ahead and place it over here so I can kind of see it better. But I'm going to click that shadow icon right there. I'm going to change the shadow. I'm going to bring the intensity up. I'll bring the blur size down. And it's going to kind of fill that icon with this white shadow. And when I take a step back, you're going to notice that that icon really pops out, right? Making it clear like, hey, this icon is important. It's kind of following the same artistic style as the rest of the map with that white outline and then this white kind of outline that's in the stamp itself. So we got some continuity there. So there's one capital, and sometimes maybe we want to put it on top of a hill or something. So why don't we add a hill like this, and then we'll just put that just right underneath of it like this. So we have a little location for it. Let's go and put that there. And then why don't I kind of steal some of these hills and then kind of put some hills at the base of it. And then let's take some of these trees and kind of have them overlap a little bit, so it looks a little bit more interesting. So I can take these trees and kind of just place them. Some of the big tricks is just placing them right in front like this to create some overlap, and then go back a layer, and then you can put some behind as well like this. And what this will do is it will create this illusion of depth because I'm stacking stamps, I'm layering them. There's these trees in front of the POI, then there's the POI itself, and then there's some stamps behind the POI, creating this layering sense of depth. And this works for any map style, not just Parchment World, by the way. Stack, do that layering to create the sense of depth. So that first capital is put together. So why don't we type in capital and see if we can find a bunch of these. Let's not use those ones. Let's type in city. See if maybe I can get a couple to pop up here. Here's a dwarven one. Why don't we put a dwarven capital up here where all the mountains and where all of the kind of like, maybe this is further up in the snow area. I see some areas I need to repaint in. Why don't we make this dwarves? So why don't we place it in the mountains somewhere? And I think I'll delete some of these trees because a lot of the trees would have been cut down for their timber. So I'll cut down a lot of trees just to kind of show that, like, hey, there was a settlement here, right? A lot of those trees were cut and used. So I'll go ahead and place this just right here in the mountains, right here. Maybe I want to play around with things a little bit more. Maybe place a mountain here. Maybe this mountain that's behind it should be a little bit bigger. And maybe I should scale it up a little bit more like this to make it bigger, just to kind of show like, hey, this is a big mountain right here. And I'll go ahead and remove those trees. Let's put a couple hills in front, kind of overlapping to make it more interesting. Overlap there. I'm not going to put any trees in the front because, again, I want to kind of show that those trees were cut. And then why don't we also throw in like a crater Oopsie, let me go back in there, go to here, type in crater. Huh, for some reason, every time I go to type in that, I get that problem. Let's go back, crater, there we go, that was bizarre. Let's go put a crater in the front of it. I think that would be an interesting kind of touch. Here, this can kind of represent like maybe some mining operation in the front that kind of takes place. I think that's a nice little touch to get a little bit of detail there. Excuse me. And then from here, we'll just do this exact same thing. I'm going to go back to that object shadow. Or not default, object shadow. And I'm going to go to white, bring that intensity way up. And now I have this nice white icon that kind of pops out, right? This pops out, that pops out. So we have our capitals there. Cool, we still have a couple more capitals to add in. So why don't we do that? Let's type in maybe castle. Maybe we can find something interesting in there. Castle, okay. Why don't we expand all assets? Okay. Why don't we use this detailed elven kind of castle? I think that looks good. So why don't we go ahead and place that in here somewhere, and a good location. You could also put it on an island right here. Make sure that it's like separate. Maybe this is like an empire, and the imperial city or capital is afraid of being attacked or whatever. So maybe it puts it on an island where it's better defended. Maybe on this island right here, or maybe it's in the heartland. It's up to you. Right now, I think we should maybe put it on an island. I think that would be a little bit more interesting, placing it there. Let's do our usual, right? We're going to mess with that shadow. And the app name is Inkarnate, by the way, first time chatter pause. We're going to go ahead and go to object shadow, custom object shadow. And just like we did before, we'll add in that white. I'm going to do that for just every single one of these. So I'll bring that intensity up, really get this to kind of pop out. Get that blur in there, bring that intensity up. There we go. Make sure that really pops out. That looks good. Why don't we also throw some terrain underneath? Why don't we maybe choose a mountain to go underneath this? So let's go choose a mountain here. And what I'll do is I will go ahead and just change the height a little bit so it's a little flatter like this. And then I'll go put that underneath like that. And then now I have this kind of mountain underneath here. That looks good. Why don't I also throw in a couple more smaller mountains like right in here like this, just to overlap. One there, one there. Just create some overlap. That looks good. There we go. So I have another capital right there, and it's on the island. This gives it a little bit more character, right? Now, why is that capital on that island? Why is it not in the mainland, right? It tells a story right away. It's different from the other capitals, which are on their mainland. They're not on the island. So that gives you some story, gives you some questions. Why is it there, right? Makes it more interesting. Let's go ahead and throw in maybe another capital in this blue one. Why don't we choose maybe, let's go ahead and close out of this, and we'll kind of choose some other locations. Why not this castle right here? That looks good. It's at 19. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Make sure that I got my scale right. That looks about right. That looks good. And we'll go ahead and put a city. Let's put a city in a valley, right? A valley is a good location. It's flat. You can put a lot of crops in there, so there's availability of water. So that works out great. And then why don't we also take some trees, just like we did before, and we want to do some overlap, right? Remember, overlap is important. So let's maybe put some trees behind as well. So we'll go ahead and copy and paste, put that behind there. There we go. We'll put these trees in front. That looks good. I like to hide the line work a little bit there like this. And then I'll go ahead and take that and then do that light. In fact, you know what? I'll do them all at once. So let's just go ahead and keep adding a whole bunch more, and then we'll do it all at once. Let's do like an orc one. Let's do one here. Let's have it be maybe in the rolling hills. So I'll put one like right here in these rolling hills. That looks good. Inkarnate. Okay, go ahead and place that there. All right, that looks good. Let's go ahead and place a couple trees. In fact, why don't we put a couple dead trees in there to give it a little bit more character? So it's kind of separate. So I'll throw in some dead trees like this, just to kind of give it a little more character. Maybe there's a blight Maybe there's some curse that takes place there. Maybe the orcs are dealing with something. So add a little bit of character by throwing in some dead trees in there. There we go. That looks good. Okay, how many do we have left? We have this purple one. We've already got the gray one. I think it's just one left, just this purple one right here. And then we're going to connect all of those together in just a moment. So let's go back and we're going to add another capital. Why don't we go with, let me take a look at our options here. Let's use this temple right here. This looks kind of good. Let's have that. And we're going to figure out where to put the temple. Why don't we put this in the water somewhere? Right now, we've got a lot on land. We've got some on an island, but we don't have any like in the water itself. So why don't I place it there? Why don't I go in with the subtract mode here? And I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of paint some space in here like this, just like that, so that that way you can see. I'll go ahead and just kind of make the shape not perfectly circular. I'm going to go ahead and just fix these up a little bit. And this will be like a series of lakes right here. That's good. Let's go put one right here like this. That looks good. Okay. And then I can go back and then just add a little bit of land in the center right here like this. And I'll go ahead and place that just right there on this island there. Okay, so now we have all very interesting kind of locations. I can select that one, select that orc one. And I believe there was another one right there. Let me make sure I have them all. I think that's it. Okay, so then I'll go through and then mess with the shadows. So I'll go here. 1 second, shadow, custom object shadow. Change it to white. Bump that intensity way up. There we go. And then I have that nice white that pops out there, white that pops out there. Why don't we also throw in just a couple trees to overlap? You guys know the rules now, right? You want to create this sense of depth. So let's throw in those trees. Let's go ahead and push this back a layer. There we go. We're going to copy paste, put another one back there like that. There we go. That looks good. Okay. All right. Once that's done, then we can start connecting our capitals together, right? We can start creating roads that connect all of them together, and then we'll add in our final, we'll add in the last bit of things. We can probably go for another half hour or so. If we can finish it all in one run, we should. That way we don't have to worry about a part 2. Hate for you to have to wait all the way until the ending of next week to do that. So we'll try to just finish it up here if we can. Okay, so we'll go ahead back to the line tool. We're going to choose these dotted lines. You're going to choose free draw. And when it comes to drawing lakes, rivers, or paths, roads, things like that, I try to use my pen instead of my mouse. It's just easier. If you don't, you can use a mouse. It's not a problem. But what I'll do first is I'll connect the capitals together first. So I'll go ahead and take a capital like this. And just like with my river, I'm creating these little meanders. And it's the same reason with the rivers. It's because there's going to be terrain and stuff that gets in the way. And to show that there's rough terrain that's getting in the way and all that stuff, you're going to end up creating these meanders, okay? So that's kind of important. And I'm going to choose a white color because I'm fitting with the overall aesthetic of the map, right? I have these white inner shadows. I have these white capital POIs. I also want to have some white lines to go with it. So I'm creating this sense of continuity with everything. So why don't I also maybe split this over to here? And we're just going to go in like this. We'll create a little path that goes through here and through here. And that connects right into there like that, right? So now you have those roads. Let's go ahead and connect this one up here. So we'll create a road that kind of goes in through here, through this valley, travels through here. And we'll have it zigzag through here to kind of represent that there's this really uneven terrain. And then we'll go through here like this. Have it travel along here, going to here, right? Same thing here. Why don't we split this road and then have it go through the wilderness, travel through here, and then connect right through there, right? So you guys are getting the general idea. We want to connect all of these together. So maybe we'll take a little road that kind of goes through here, goes through here. If your hand gets tired, it's okay to stop. Just continue on the line like this. And we'll have this line just kind of travel all the way through here, cross through here, and then we'll create a series of locations, towns all along here that is right next to the island there. They kind of support that. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. To make sure that I have everything connected, why don't we connect this road through here, down through here, and we'll have that loop and connect through there. That looks good. Okay. All right, so I think the major roads have been connected. The capitals have been connected. Now that the capitals have been connected, we can throw in our major cities, and we'll just use icons for that. Like these ones right here will work just fine. You can use whichever one you want to stick with the continuity. What I'll do is I'll go over to my tweak colors. I'm going to bring the contrast all the way down and bring the brightness all the way up. And now I have these kind of white circular pieces here, and great places to place these. First, I'll select one, like maybe I want to use this diamond right here. Looks okay. Why don't we use that? The dots are circular, so why don't we add in some contrast by making the icons not be circular and have them have some straighter lines on them. And a great place to place these are going to be like where roads connect, right? A major city or an important city would connect into other roads. Those are some good locations. You're going to find locations along rivers are great locations, right? Putting one along a river here is a good choice. So right there is fine. Why don't we also create some along the coastline like this? Like here are some good locations for some major cities. This right here, because maybe they want to do trade here. So we'll put some cities there. Another good location is a city where the border is, right? Maybe that's an important trade city, a diplomatic city that does diplomacy between the two nation states. So that's a good location to place them. Again, along rivers, along coastlines. And what you want to do is just the major cities, and you don't have to add too many. You can maybe have 3 or 4, or it just depends on what are the most important cities in your world, right? So along the coastlines, here's a good one right there. Let's go in here and create a couple here. There's a nice little valley right there. Let's put one there. There's a, right here is a good one. We can put one on top of this hill right here, right where the border is. Maybe we want to put some in this area here, along here, here. And let's also put some just in the middle as well. So we'll place a couple here, there. How many do we have here? Let's put one up here. Place a couple in here. Don't forget to put them along the coastline, of course. Put one here along this coastline. And then I want a bunch. Let's put maybe one right here, 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 and here. And these cities are important because maybe these cities help to support, right? Maybe there's crops, major crops at these major cities right here. And then that's where the food for this city comes from because there's not enough land on this island right here. And so that food has to be shipped in from the mainland to get to feed this city or this capital right here. Kind of important stuff there. Let's go ahead and throw a couple in the mainland here. We'll put some along the path. This road connects, so we'll place it there. Let's maybe place one over here, here. Here looks good. And we'll place a couple in here, and then we'll connect them all. Let's put one there. Let's put one along this river. And then we'll place a bunch along this lake here, where that capital is. And we'll place some along here. That looks good. Let's place some out here. Maybe there's some, just some random ones out here in the middle of the wilderness. That looks good. Put one over here along this coastline, that coastline. Let me take a step back. I think overall that looks good. Why don't we connect all of that? And just like before, we'll just kind of choose a road and then just kind of have it connect like this. It's okay. We'll go ahead and travel. A lot of roads will travel along a coastline. So that way you don't get lost, right? You're using the shoreline as a reference point. So putting a shoreline, having a road along a shore makes total sense. So we'll have it go along this shore, connecting to this one, along this shore, and then move its way inward, inland, cross this river and go to here. And we'll connect this here to this one right here. Same thing, we'll kind of connect this path, make its way up, and connect to there. That looks good. And then I'll create a bunch of roads that kind of connect to these ones here. That looks good. Let's go ahead and connect this road. Let's split it and make it go this way. Have it travel and move its way inward like this. We'll have it go to the capital and to here. This one also goes to the capital and kind of moves its way there. And then we'll kind of connect this route along the shoreline. So you're starting to get the idea, right? So political maps, fun, not too difficult to make. What's really beautiful about political maps is that you don't have to do all of the you don't have to do all this crazy texturing, right? You don't have to blend the mountains in with the ground texture. You don't have to do all of that like texture blending, because you're just using one texture or color to represent each nation state. So it doesn't take quite as long, right? So that kind of is really, I find that to be quite helpful. So it's a little bit easier that way. Why don't we also connect into here, cross here, and then go along the shoreline and connect to here. Same thing, we'll have this connect into here. Let's have it branch off here and move its way to here. We'll connect these. And to show this is like a harsh wilderness, I'll kind of create this crazy zigzag wandering to kind of show that, hey, it's kind of hard to like navigate through this area. So to kind of represent that, I'll have my road be really, really, really funky, like just all over the place like this, to kind of represent really uneasy or treacherous terrain. Okay, we'll connect, there we go. And then we'll connect here as well, moving its way through here. Okay, let's take a look. Why don't we connect all these? So we'll put a little path that goes all the way around that lake and then kind of moves its way into the mountains like this. And then there's like maybe a mountain pass that you have to go through to get to this location right here. And then we'll kind of have this travel along the river here and then cross to get to there. Let me just take a look around and make sure I didn't really miss anything else. I see I missed a little spot right there. We'll go ahead and just travel through and take a look and see if there's anything that I missed. I think I have most of the locations. Let's put a little road right here that kind of connects to here. That looks good. I think I got most of them. That connects. That looks good. That looks good. I think I got most of the locations. We can probably connect a little bit more of those locations together, and then we can probably call it good. For instance, why don't we connect this one through here like that? That looks good. And then why don't we also create a route that travels along the coast here, goes across this river and connects to right there. I'm just trying to connect a lot of them together. Why don't we connect this path here and then have it connect to that one? That looks good. Oh, I see one here. Let's connect this to there. Oh, let's connect this one like this. There we go. So now things are kind of coming together. Let's connect another one that travels through here and then connects into there. There we go. Missed a little spot there. That looks good. Let me just take a step back and look at it. I think all the little paths and everything kind of come together fairly well. So that looks good. Okay. So there's a couple more things that we can do here. And one of them is we can start deciding like how we want to portray each nation state. Do we want to put some text in there with the name over it? Do we want to add a coat of arms or some heraldry on a shield that represents each place? I think the heraldry coats of arms looks good. If I throw some text down, it will kind of block a lot of what's going on the map. So why don't we instead, we can either do a couple things, create a legend that's color coded so that we don't block what the map we've created with text, or we can just use like a shield or heraldry. We could try both and see which one works best. What I will do though is I'll go to add a new layer, object layer, and I'm going to call this labeling or labels. This way I won't accidentally select anything on my terrain layer. See, there's a lot of stuff to connect that I can kind of touch, and I don't want to do that. So if I just go to labels, if I just create a new layer, call it labels, I'll have this whole layer here where I won't accidentally select something. And then from here, couple things we can do. We can switch over to Fantasy World to create more interesting heraldry. So I'll just type in shield, and you'll see a whole bunch of shields here. So why don't I set a scale, and why don't I put the shield right above the capital like this? So we'll have a shield here. Why don't we give it a white shadow, just like we gave everything else a white shadow? This will kind of help to make sure that the shield pops out. So add a little bit of a drop, a little bit of a shadow there. We'll place that right above like this. And then we can choose a coat of arms that we want to represent each one. Why don't I just put a shield down first, and we'll kind of move our way from there. So we've got that red one. We've got a green one here. Why don't we choose this one? We'll put that green shield right there. Ooh, and we should make it a different shield than the one that I've already used. So I've already used that one. Why don't we use this one? A green shield there. Why don't we use a gray shield for here? Let's figure out which one works kind of best. Let's use this shield right here for that capital. There's a blue one here. Let's use blue. Let's use this kind of more diamond-shaped one. And then for colors that you don't have, we can always change it by going to the hue to change it. So if I want, I can go over to colors, change the hue to get the color I want. What I'll normally do is bump the saturation way up so that I can kind of see the color a little more clearly. And then I kind of look for that yellow color that I'm looking for. And I can bump my brightness up a little bit. Bring the brightness up even more. There we go. Kind of get that somewhat of the color that I'm looking for there. And we'll put that right there. So we have a shield there. And there should be one more shield, that purple shield. So let's go ahead and choose that as well. We'll go back to blue. Let's go ahead and pick this one. This shape looks good to me. And then we can just change the hue to be whatever color I want it to be. We'll go to hue. And we can get more of that purple color. Let's bump that saturation up. Bump the brightness up a little bit. And then I can kind of look for that purple color. That looks good. Okay, and then I can select all the shields. And then I can go to my object shadows and kind of begin that. So custom object shadow. Choose that white color. Bring that intensity way up. And then bring the shadow down. And you'll notice that the shields kind of pop out a little bit more, right? So now I can see each shield. That works out great. And then I can choose a symbol that I want to represent each one. We could go with, because this, and the way that I kind of decide the symbol is really the location, maybe. Like, for example, this right here, this capital right here is founded on like a lake. It could even be more brackish water. Why don't we just go ahead and subtract a little bit and then create like a series of pools that kind of go here like this. And this could kind of represent, like, maybe they worship a sea creature of some kind that can survive in brackish water, and it travels up to that temple on that lake island there. And so maybe we could use some kind of sea creature to kind of represent this nation, right? Because it kind of fits to the terrain, right? The land. So maybe we can take like this octopus creature of some kind and just kind of place it on top of the shield like this. And because it's kind of small, it's hard to see. We could bump up the contrast a little bit more to make it a little bit darker like this. Or you could just straight up bring the brightness all the way down like this and just use the outline of a symbol, because it is very kind of simple. The map is simple, so maybe it suits better to the map style to just make it a silhouette. So some kind of black creature works good on this one. This one's kind of more, a little bit more greenish. Maybe we should throw in a bunch of trees in here to make some forest. Maybe this is like an elven location. So why don't we go in back to terrain? I'll pick some trees here, and I'll go back to my area and bring my area up a little bit. And then I'll just create some thick, oopsie, we'll get the size right, my mistake. Those are a little small. Let's go with a little bit bigger scale here. There we go. That looks about right. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and, oopsie, I'm going to undo that real quick. Set to terrain. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of place, oopsie, it doesn't want to place those clicks in there, unfortunately. 1 second while I fix this real quick. Here we go. Okay. Those trees are a little bit bigger. That's okay. Make sure that I have terrain set. And, for some reason, those trees seem a little... Select all. See, let's go ahead and unlock all these. We'll go and undo all that. Those trees seem a little off for some reason. Let me just fix that real quick. I'm just going to go ahead and select all these shaded pine trees real quick. Just go ahead and restore that. Let's go ahead and select this one. I'm not so sure. It's probably because they're a little bit thicker, but I can fix that. So we'll go ahead and remove these. Okay, there we go. Bring the scale down a little bit more. Oh, see, I see what happened here. I noticed that they're set to brightness and contrast. All that stuff's been switched. There we go. That explains it. And I'm going to kind of create this more wooded area because I want this to kind of be elves. So to kind of show that, I'll just add in a bunch of trees here. Hey, first time chatter. Glad that you're here, by the way. So I'm just going to fill a bunch of trees. Oopsie, I got to set it to random. They're all the same tree, unfortunately. And I'm just going to go ahead and create this nice wooded area. I want this to kind of represent like an elven kind of settlement. So what I'll do is I'll throw in a bunch of trees. I'll even put some trees around some of the POIs right here. This can represent like a glade, like an opening. So I'll put some trees around each one of these locations, creating this sense of like a glade of some kind. There we go. That looks good. Oop, I see some locations that I missed here as well. We'll have to connect those together. And that's okay, it happens. We'll go ahead and connect these like this. There we go, that looks good. And then we'll have it kind of connect through here to there. There we go, that looks good. Okay, yeah, I got my trees there. Hey, glad that you're here, Skylar, by the way. Awesome. Elven one, okay. Why don't we maybe use, a tree? And why don't we use a world tree? Maybe this one right here might work, or maybe this one. I'm not sure. And then I'll also do what I did before. I'm going to make it stylistic. Oopsie, I realized I'm on the wrong layer. Labels, there we go. And we'll put it up on top of here like this, on top of that shield. Again, I'm going to bring the brightness down, and I'm using silhouettes here. So we'll have like this tree, which represents their symbol. Again, you don't have to do the silhouette. You can do whatever you want. Let's go with this one right here, this kind of orc settlement. Why don't we use a scorpion? Excuse me. Not knowing how to spell here. Here we go. I think there is a scorpion right there. Let's use that one. That looks good for this nation state. We'll go ahead and bring the brightness down. There we go. That looks good. All right, let's take a step back. Wondering if I need to make them white instead of black. That way they stick with that kind of continuity thing. I'm not sure. Let's just try it out real quick. Bring the brightness all the way up. You know, I kind of think I like the white a little bit better. So why don't we stick with that? There's another symbol right here. Why don't we pick another one? Why don't we go with maybe like a dragon symbol? That looks good. And we'll do the same thing. We'll bring the brightness up, bring the contrast down. Now we have this nice shield here. Where else do we got here? We have that red one there. We have that one there. Okay, cool. We're almost there. A couple more. Where are we at for time? 16. We're doing great. We're just going to keep adding more and more symbols to it. Let's go use this one right here for this one. We'll go up a layer too. Like this. Oops. For some reason, it just doesn't want to. There we go. Oopsie, wrong way. That looks good. And then one more right here. And then we should probably add in some text because text is going to contrast, right? There's no other text anywhere, so text will really kind of help to create some contrast. So let's do that real quick. And then I think we should be good. And then we'll skip part 2 on Friday and we'll do another stream. If people have suggestions on what we should do for Friday, next Friday's stream, let me know. I was thinking maybe we could redo some older ones, like maybe we could do some medieval maps. I know some people were asking about that, so maybe we could do that. Okay, we'll let this save and we'll add some text. And what I'll do with my text is I'll place some text down like this. I'll make sure that I got maybe a nice thick, like black outline that works. So I got this like thick kind of black outline. So it's kind of thick and sticks out. And then we can come up with names, right? Like maybe we want to put some text here. Maybe we want to call this red run or something. You could put it here. You could put it underneath the capital like this. So maybe it's resting on top of the text. You could put it on top like this. You could put it in between. It's really up to you where you want to place it. You could make it nice and big so people can kind of see it if you want. You could have it next to the shield. It's up to you how you really want to go about doing it. I leave that up to you. But let's go ahead and just add in all the details here. There we go. Red run. And I'm just going to copy that text and just place it like this over each one. I kind of noticed that I put these two capitals maybe a little too close together. That's not a big deal. I can just go ahead and move these pretty easily. Just go ahead and take that whole terrain there and kind of just move that capital like maybe over to here instead. No big deal. And then I'll just go ahead and connect these paths like this. Connect it right into there. Like this. No big deal. And I'll go back to my labels. And this should create a little bit more room for me to put my text. There we go. That looks a little better. Copy and paste. I'm just going to place all these text right above, and then I'll go ahead and give a name for each one. You guys got suggestions? Let me know. We can label it. We can call this like Dwar Hall or something. That's like a dwarven one. Then we have like the elven one. We'll call this one like Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil. Oopsie. IL. There we go. Yggdrasil. This one can be called, I don't know. Thane. There we go. I'm just kind of coming up with just random names. Orkhelm. There we go. Orklam. Oh, Oaklam. Maybe Orklam. There we go. Spell improper spelling of orc. There we go. Red Run, Dwar Hall. Red Run. Oh, one more up here. And maybe we can call this like Abyss or something. Or whatever you want to call it. Maybe you wanted to call it the something Republic. Or, like, you don't have to go with that, right? You can call it the Dwar Hall Republic. Or you can go with the Red Run Empire, right? There's a lot of different nation states that you can create. So maybe the Red Run Empire. Maybe I want to have the Yggdrasil Collective, right? I can do that. If I want to, maybe even best with the space, with the line height just a little bit. So it kind of fits in a little bit more closer there. That looks good. How about the Orklam tribes? Maybe it's like a confederacy of some kind. So an Orklam Confederacy. There we go. That looks good. Let's add some line height here. There we go. Kind of mix. There we go. The Yggdrasil Collective, Thane, Dwar Hall Republic, the Abyss, Red Run Empire. Let's go ahead and just go ahead and take these and kind of get the line height a little bit. Get them in here. Okay, there we go. We don't have to. You can also use color coordination as well. Normally, I don't recommend changing a lot of colors, but you can. For instance, since this continent is yellow, you could use like an orange color for that one. That Yggdrasil Collective is kind of greenish, so why don't we use more of like kind of a faded green? This one is blue, so why don't we use maybe like kind of a bluish color? This one's red, so why don't we go with like a more faded, more like kind of red-like color. Let's make it a little bit lighter. That looks good. And then we can take this one. I think white works for this, and then this one can be like a purple color. This way you get some like color coding to make it a little bit more interesting. Let's go with this pink color, and then we'll kind of fade it a little bit. There we go, the Abyss. So you can always change up your colors a little bit. But let's just take a step back and just see what it looks like overall. I think this looks fairly good. The next thing that I would do is to throw on just a couple filters, just to add a little bit more character. You see there's a lot of negative space right in here, and the colors are kind of flat. So why don't we add in like a filter that's going to add some artifacts to make the terrain look a little bit more interesting. And the way that you can do it is a couple ways. We can add a couple filters. We'll go to add layer, filter layer, and then why don't we go to a texture filter, go to plus button here, click the filter, choose the filters of my choice. I'm going to click Inkarnate so that every single filter is available to me. And there's a couple ones that you can use. You can use old paper, or you can use this leather type as well. That's up to you. I find that either one works just fine. Let's try old paper first, just to see what it looks like. We're going to change the blend mode to overlay. And I'll go ahead and turn this off so you can kind of see what it looks like. When I bring the opacity up, you'll notice that it starts to darken out some regions when I add that. So if I go all the way up, you notice that it kind of adds a little bit of texture to the map, making it more interesting. I can go to repeat if I want, change the size of it if I want to, make it stretch. If you don't like that one, you can always use like leather to give it this more leathery type of feel to it. So you kind of gives this kind of leather like look to it. If you want, we can make it look like more like it's folded paper, like maybe it's a political map that's used that your players would carry and hold with you running around. So maybe we can add another filter that makes it look like folded paper. So we can go here, go to filter here, and there should be a filter in here that lets you do like folded paper, like this one right here. You can fold paper here to make that more interesting. We can bring the opacity up all the way, and it creates this kind of folded look to it. Maybe you don't like the white because it doesn't contrast against these lighter colors on the map. So why don't we go with black? Instead, there should be kind of a black filter. Let me see. It should be Fantasy World, or is it Parchment? Let me take a look real quick. Here we are. Black right here. Tattered black. Let's try that instead. Maybe the black will pop out more. It kind of does. I think that looks a little better. That dark black color kind of works a little bit better, I think. There we go. So now it kind of gives this kind of folded, like it's a folded political map that your characters hold on their person, so that way when they're traveling, they know if they're moving into a different nation, whether there's a different currency, whether there's a different dialect, whether there's maybe you are wanted, your players are wanted in one nation, maybe they're heroes in another nation. When you go to travel, the political map is kind of helpful to know like where you're at. Are you in the middle of political turmoil in Fane? Are you dealt with a revolution that's going on in the Yggdrasil Collective? Are your players in the Dwarhar Republic, which I spelled completely wrong, by the way. The Dwarhar Republic, right? So that little adding in these filters kind of helps to kind of give it a little bit more purpose, right? It's a folded piece of paper. And because it's folded, it's got this old paper or leathery like feel to it to make it look like it's been weathered, because people have been carrying it around with them as they travel. So expect it to be kind of tattered, to be weathered a little bit, kind of makes sense, right? So I think overall this looks good. There's a lot of different ways that you could approach it. You could use all kinds of textures and colors. You don't have to use the same texture set that's in Parchment, but this is kind of a simple kind of method to kind of put together a political map, I think, or at least overall. So let me check the time here. Oh yeah. All right. So we've gone for like an hour and a half. I think overall this turned out fairly well. I like the way that it turned out. I like the colored text. You could all make it white again if you wanted to, if you felt like it just doesn't work that way. Like if you felt like the colors just create this weird incontinuity, that's not a problem. Just switch it right back to white color. Or maybe you want it all to be the same color, right? Up to you. Maybe you want to select them all and maybe bring the outline to be a little bit thicker so you can really see. Maybe you want to change the outline color to maybe whatever the nation is, right? So maybe you want to go with that color, right? Maybe you want to bring it a little bit darker. Bring in this dark orange color, right? So a lot of different ways that you can kind of do it. And it's really up to you and how you want to approach it. We'll go ahead and undo that. There we go. So the lines aren't super thick. All right, that looks good.